Keeping the cook from being hurled around the boat in rough seas is an important part of galley safety. But is a galley strap the answer? Hi there, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, I'm going to share some thoughts on galley straps and how to make sure that they actually help you and don't cause more injuries than what they solve. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Mantis Marine, maker of the Mantis Anchor, which is now available in models with and without a roll bar. It's proven to set reliably in most challenging bottoms. The Mantis Anchor digs in like no other, making anchoring safer and boating more enjoyable. Seriously, we have loved ours. Mantis Marine brings to market practical, durable, and affordable marine products, including anchoring gear, scuba diving accessories, and a rechargeable waterproof headlamp for hands-free lighting. I particularly like their solar nav light for dinghies. Visit mantismarine.com and see for yourself. Okay, let's talk about keeping the cook safe and galley straps. Years ago, I wrote about galley design and things to look for. And one of my points was a design where the cook couldn't get tossed across the boat in rough conditions. A whole bunch of people wrote to me and made comments about how a galley strap would solve that problem in almost any design boat. Problem is, I have very mixed feelings on galley straps. Maybe not exactly mixed even. I'm not that in favor of most of them. Both the Friends boat that I was on for my first offshore passage and K-Tal, our first cruising boat, had a West Marine galley strap. They were basically about 3 feet long with a snap on each end. Most of the length was a pad about 6 inches wide. The length could be adjusted. Both boats had pad eyes on either side of the stove, so that you could clip yourself directly in front of the stove. After using one once, I quickly concluded that this was a horribly, horribly dangerous concept. Who wants to be held in place right in front of fire and pans of hot food? If a pan spilled, I couldn't jump out of the way. I was a sitting duck for burns. A couple of other problems with the concept. It didn't help me anywhere else in the galley. Getting into lockers, standing at the counter, using the sink was still an invitation to be thrown across the boat if I couldn't wedge myself in. And I had to clip and unclip that strap all the time. And it took both hands to clip myself in. It's hard enough to cook with just one hand while holding on with the other. But to have to use both hands for yourself made it even tougher when you needed to get something from another area of the galley. I'm going to guess that nobody particularly liked this design as they're no longer sold. And that's where this article was going to end. Basically, I didn't like the idea of a galley strap, thought it was much better to simply have a galley design where you could wedge yourself in. But then I started researching. I found some galley strap ideas that I actually do like. As much as I could wedge myself into the galley on K-Tal, I figured I'd never really set any up. But if you have a more open galley design, there's a couple of things you might want to consider. If you have a U-shaped galley, you can place a strap across the opening, not within inches of the stove, but across the big wide opening. While it won't hold you in one place, it will keep you from getting thrown 6 feet or more, and you can move around the galley and get out of the way of spills if need be. Basically, I have it so it hit me about at the waist. You don't want it so low that you're going to go tipping over the top of it. But you also don't want it so high that your back is just going to go under it. For a long galley, I think you can basically create a strap running the full length of the galley if you keep it high enough and taut enough. The long galleys have great counter space, but they often have no places to brace yourself. A long strap would allow the cook to kind of move sideways to avoid a hot spill. Might not be the most instinctive move, but it's better than not being able to move at all. That would allow the cook to be restrained from getting into the lockers at the countertop. I've also found a couple of posts about designing and installing stainless bars kind of as a gate to close off the galley. That could be another option for a really wide open galley, but it's going to take more engineering and definitely more cost. My conclusion is that I think galley straps that hold a cook right in front of the stove are both dangerous if you're doing anything on the stove, and they're pretty much useless if you're doing anything anywhere else. Now, I'm willing to concede that there are some other galley strap configurations that are useful. Just really, really think hard about if something hot could spill on you or if you could be held in front of flames as they flare up. I hope this has gotten you thinking some and gotten you making ideas for your boat, thinking what you want to do. If so, be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode of the Boat Galley podcast, and tell your friends about us. We try to make living on board just a little bit better and easier.